Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome back to another Barrett video today. This one is a very interesting conversation between me and my friend Max, who runs the YouTube channel Mexicanos in China. We were in Xi'an and we were talking about our misconceptions about the country before we came here. Just before we do jump into the video, I just want to give a big thank you to Rosetta Stone, who are sponsoring this video. They are a leading language platform and they have been for the past 2 decades. I am currently living in China, so I am trying my best to study Mandarin. It's a very, very complex language, but I feel like I'm in their country. I really want to speak their language and I don't want to have to rely on people to speak my language because that makes me feel rather uncomfortable. One of my motivating factors actually for learning Mandarin, I am really fascinated to talk to the older generation because if you don't know much about China, they lived in a completely different China 40, 50 years ago. I'm sure they have some great experiences and wisdom to talk to me about. So that's really my main goal, is to get fluency to do that. So as you're all aware, we're all going through this pandemic, this COVID, and this is the perfect opportunity to come out of this a better person. You know, hunker down at home and get down to business, and you can look back on 2020, not just as this negative period of time. You can look back on this year as a turning point to better the rest of your life. So what better way to do that than sign up to Rosetta Stone? You can use the link down in our description and you will get a great deal on a monthly subscription, but you can get, right, for $199 US, you can get a lifetime subscription. How about that? Imagine you're learning every day for an hour for 10 years. How cheap is that? And you've got access to 25 different languages. So, you know, once you learn a bit of one, why don't you learn a bit of another? You know, just get it going, get them all going. Be fluent in 25 languages, I dare you. Rosetta Stone does offer you up to 250 hours of fully immersive lessons per language. So head down in the description, sign up, and let's move on to this fantastic conversation between me and Max. Hello and welcome back to the Barrett channel for a brand new video with a special guest here today, Max from Mexicanos in China. We're all in Xi'an. There's a few other YouTubers with us as well, and right now we are at a sort of historical museum where some emperors were buried here a long time ago, but that's for another video. That's not what this one's about. What are we going to be talking about today?
We're going to be talking about how you came to China when you were 20 years old?
21 actually.
21. And my first year was at 19. So we're going to talk about the difference that China has for young people. It was 10 years ago and now.
Yeah, I really had a lot of misconceptions about China before I came here, and that's probably due to my, ignorance, to be honest. You know, I'm only 21, and at that time I'd not really traveled anywhere. I'd had a couple of holidays, but that doesn't really count. But travel really is an education. Living somewhere else is an education. And one massive misconception I had before I came here was just about how Chinese people are. I'm very into sort of behavior and psychology and culture and how people behave, right? So when I came here, I guess I was just a mouthpiece of Western propaganda. I really didn't think that Chinese people were enjoying their lives because I thought that they were under the oppression of the government, right? Yeah. So when I first came here, I didn't think I would ever be able to find that many friends, or I didn't think that many people would speak English. I just thought I would have a tough time. And for the first 6 months or so, I guess the adjustment, I did find it hard, but after that, man, it's like I've got friends here, I've made great relationships with people, I've had a girlfriend here, and I just didn't expect any of that. So what was it like for you when you came when you were 19? Because you didn't live here at that time, right? That was just for
6 months. I was here for
really?
6 months.
Oh,
yeah.
No way.
Yeah, so when I came, it was completely different, man. Like, YouTube wasn't even a thing, so most of the information that I got was from the traditional media, right?
Right.
And we're right besides America. So we just receive their news, and everything they say about China is what we consume. So I had a really bad misconception when it came to China. Like my parents were like, go to China, we've been there, it's super nice, you can make some friends, there's a lot of international people there in Shanghai. And I didn't want to come, first of all, because it's related with like cheap stuff, fake stuff, like people thought it was only factories and pollution. So I didn't really want to come. I wanted to go to Europe, I wanted to go to England, to France, and somehow I ended up here.
So what was your reason for coming, sorry?
My reason for coming is that my parents did business here.
Right. Like, so you came to live with them for a bit, or did you come to live by yourself?
I came traveling for the first time in 2007. I was 15 years old.
No way.
Yeah, but it was like a business trip. So it was completely boring for me, like just going factories, expos. I didn't really get to experience what China has to offer.
So when you came to live here for 6 months in Shanghai, you said?
Yeah.
What was the biggest thing that you found was different to what you thought when you were arriving? Let's head through there.
Yeah. All right. So Shanghai was an amazing experience. And first of all, there's a big international community, and the friendly people. I'm pretty sure that when you first got here, you realize how warm people can be with foreigners.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're so hospitable.
Yeah, so that was one of the first things. And then just like all the difference, the cultural difference between Mexico and China was impressive to me. But then I fell in love with the language. You're studying Chinese, I saw that.
Yeah.
Right?
And you're pretty good at Chinese now. And how do you think your perspective on China has differed since you started to learn Chinese?
Oh, that's the most important part, man. That's what I'm telling you. Keep doing Chinese, because once you start speaking a little bit at least, you open a whole different world.
Okay.
Like, start communicating with people. You see that I like to interview people for my videos.
Yeah.
Because that's what China is all about. Like, forget about the places, the cities, the technology. It's just the people that make the place.
Yeah.
And they have a completely different mindset.
Yeah, one of the things that's really been a motivating factor for me to keep learning is to speak to old people.
Oh, that's the best.
Because they grew up in a totally different time as the young people are growing up now. And you can kind of interact with the younger people because a lot of them speak English, right? Yeah. But you can't really get inside the minds of many older people. And in Britain, there's a difference between the younger and the older generations, but it's not that big. Yeah. Here it's like a totally different world.
Yeah.
So I really can't wait to have some interviews with some older people and see what they think of this crazy change over the past 40 years.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to that, man. Like, just imagine how much China has changed that, like, 15 years ago when I first came. I mean, of course there was no WeChat, there were no smartphones.
Right.
So they didn't know that well.
There wasn't even smartphones, man. Like,
no smartphone, no WeChat, no facial recognition, no nothing. And like, people have changed so much, and the regulations and the culture, and they didn't have subway in some places. So
man, it was a totally different world back then.
Yeah,
I find it hard to imagine what that would be like, because when I came a year and a half ago, all of these things existed, and I think it must have been, I rely on my phone even now so much, but when I first arrived, I relied on my phone so much for translation, for getting around, for using mapping systems and payment. I think back then it must have been super interesting. Like, were you trying to learn Chinese at all when you were 19, when you arrived?
I was actually at a school.
And how were you going about that?
Well, you're very mature for your age, but when I was 19, I didn't think about it much. So I was just like super happy because I could say a few words.
Right.
But then you realize how much more complex it is.
Sure.
Right? But you need it like for basic survival stuff, and then you keep growing from there.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's another, do you think, because we kind of like went off topic a bit, but that's fine.
Yeah.
But what's another kind of misconception you had about China before you came?
Oh, the dirtiness, for sure.
Right.
People they always say like they're dirty. You hear that they spit and they smell and they... And of course, that was when I was 19, so a lot of people just repeat what they say, what they hear in the TV or from other people, right?
Yeah.
So when you come here, you find out that it's a very different culture. You know, when let's say the noodles. Do you know why you have to do this with the noodles?
No.
It's because they're super hot, and that's the most
Right.
way.
And that's actually not seen as impolite at all here. And I've found myself doing it now as well.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
You're here, you do as the Romans do, right?
Yeah, like with the baozi, you put it in your mouth and it's so hot. I mean, if you don't do it, you must be stupid because then you're gonna burn your tongue. So I just go like.
That's funny you say that because sort of similar point. Like when I show videos to my friends or my grandparents and stuff, sometimes they're quite surprised at how, you know, immaculately clean the streets are and how built up and how, you know, they've got all the Western shops you could ever want. And especially in the big cities, you know, I live in Shenzhen, which is a very international city. You live in Suzhou, which is slightly less international, but still very modern nevertheless.
Yeah.
And you really, to come here as a foreigner now, it's quite easy, you know, in the sense of it's not as challenging as it must have been when you came 15 years ago. Because at that time, they probably didn't have pretty much any foreign influence, or that much anyway. Another misconception I had, right, and it's strange because my dad was coming here for like 12 years before I ever came. So you would think I would be a little bit more knowledgeable about it than like some of my friends and stuff. But when I came here, I was just overwhelmed with how busy it was. And I knew it was going to be busy, but I knew I was living in like an hour away from downtown. So I was like, you know, I thought it was going to be kind of rural. And then I got there and it's like, oh my God, there's so many people everywhere. And I did love that. I fell in love with that actually, because it's like, there's always something to do. There's always something to do and somewhere to go to, you know, fill your time. And I do find that nice, but in the same sense, I've had this thought of like, especially in Shenzhen, because it's an migrant city, you can still feel kind of lonely at times, even when there's lots of people around, because people don't really interact with each other that much. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, when you say that, I gotta say, like, there's another misconception that I heard. Like, it's that people are rude, right? But when you live in a country that has so many people, sometimes you just skip some formalities, you know?
Yeah.
So that was another myth busted for me. Like, it's not that people are rude. It's just that when you're on a tight schedule and there's so many people, then you start making your way, you know?
That's funny you say that, because I literally had that thought yesterday.
Yeah.
If you brush past people in England, people are overly apologetic. Yeah. Like if you just do this against someone's shoulder or something, oh, sorry. Yeah. But here, there's so many people, it happens all the time. So people don't worry about it. It's just like, it's a hustle and bustle, getting through the metro and things like that. And people are very focused on themselves and their careers in Shenzhen. And I think for me, it makes me a hell of a lot more productive, because everyone around me is kind of focused and driven as well. So Shenzhen will always take a place in my heart, man. It's completely changed my life since I moved here, and I'm very grateful that I've been able to have the opportunity to live in China. So
just think of it like that. This is where we met. Like all the amazing opportunities that we had here, right?
I know, exactly. Right here. Right, there's a lot to be grateful for, and they're the things you gotta sort of keep in mind as we're doing these crazy things. But anyway, this video is getting on now, so we will wrap this up. Hopefully you did enjoy this little casual chat with Max here. Make sure you go over to their channel. The link will be down in the description. They have a completely different take on how they go about things than us, so even if you do see videos from the same places, it's interesting to get a different perspective, right? Yeah, we all have a different perspectives. That's in Spanish with subtitles, so you might want to go there, check it out. It's completely different. But always focusing on the positive side, because we have a lot of negative stuff out there. Exactly, and we're going to combat against that, right? Yeah. It's just just people see things different way. Like, we're positive people, so
Yeah.
we're giving out a positive message, you know. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's what the world needs.
Anyway, make sure you drop a like and comment down below your thoughts on our conversation, and we will see you in the next one. For now, take care.